The country's single-day coronavirus death toll has fallen well below the 100 mark for the second time this week, suggesting that the death curve from COVID-19 is gradually subsiding. However, with the infection rate still deemed alarming, the public are well advised to adhere to health protocols despite the decision by local authorities in the Kathmandu Valley to relax the ongoing prohibitory order to some extent. Good morning, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. The country continues to reel under the COVID-19 crisis as 75 individuals succumbed to the infection, while 5,825 individuals tested positive for coronavirus yesterday. The latest deaths have taken the COVID-19 casualty tally to 7,630 in the country. Meanwhile, 5,904 patients registered full recovery, taking the recovery tally to 467,467. The recovery rate now stands at 81.03%. According to the Health Ministry, 18,562 tests through the PCR method were conducted yesterday. There are 101,839 active cases in the country. As of the latest update, 831 individuals are in various quarantine centers. The strict prohibitory orders imposed in majority of the country have now exceeded a month. A meeting of chief district officers from the Kathmandu Valley has decided to slightly relax the prohibitory orders, concluding that the infection rate has subsided. However, the COVID data reveal that the infection rate is over 30%, while anything over 5% is considered alarming. When the prohibitory orders were put in place on 29th of April, over 12,500 tests through the PCR method were conducted. 38% of the tests had returned positive on the day. In the following days, the infection rate climbed to 42%, while the highest infection rate was witnessed on 10th of May, when it rose to as high as 52%. Despite the alarming rate of infection, the authority never worked towards increasing the testing parameters. On 30th of May, a day after the prohibitory orders completed a month, not even 11,000 tests through the PCR method were carried out. The data for the last 7 days showed daily tests of less than 16,000, while the infection rate hovers around 32%. The government seems more bent on extending the prohibitory orders rather than ending the chain of infection by increasing testing parameters. The prohibitory orders in the capital has been extended till mid-June, while the orders are also in place in majority of the districts across the country. After gripping urban areas for over 2 months, the infection has fast spread to rural areas in the past 2 weeks. The government surprisingly is trying to relax the ongoing lockdown and also bracing to resume international flights. With an infection rate over 5% is deemed alarming, the COVID crisis scenario doesn't augur well in the upcoming days. The U.S. government has decided to provide COVID-19 vaccines to Nepal under the COVAX campaign of the World Health Organization. Issuing a press statement, the White House informed that the U.S. would provide 25 million doses of vaccines to several countries in the first phase. U.S. President Joe Biden announced that the U.S. government would provide 7 million doses of vaccines for Asian countries including Nepal, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Afghanistan, along with some Southeast Asian countries and Pacific Islands. The U.S. will provide 80 million doses of vaccines by the end of June globally in several phases, of which President Biden announced of providing 25 million of vaccines in the first stage. Meanwhile, Nepal received 160 oxygen concentrators from Japan yesterday. According to the Foreign Ministry, 25 blood gas analyzers and 25 ultrasound machines have been installed under Japanese assistance. The ongoing prohibitory order in the Kathmandu Valley has been extended for the 4th time. The prohibitory order has come into effect from today until 14th of this month, with some ease to the restrictions. A meeting of all the 3 district chief district officers of the valley on Wednesday had decided to extend the prohibitory order considering the persisting threat of coronavirus. Vegetable markets, fruit shops, groceries and departmental stores will be allowed to operate till 9 a.m. from today. Likewise, stationery stores will also be allowed to open till 9 a.m. in consideration of the new academic calendar. Earlier, the grocery shops were prohibited to operate for a week, considering the rise in COVID-19 cases. The local levels had considered the plight of the general public under strict prohibitions and decided to ease the restrictions given the gradual decrease in COVID-19 cases. Likewise, the meeting has also decided to allow the transportation of construction materials at nighttime to ease construction works that have been largely affected by the ongoing prohibitory orders. Public vehicles have still been barred to ply on the streets. Leaders of the disgruntled faction of the ruling CPN-UML have said that all their efforts for party unification have not given way to desired results. Leaders Ghanshyam Bhushal and Surendra Pandey briefed the virtual Central Committee meeting of the disgruntled faction regarding their dialogue with the leadership faction of the party. The two leaders said that despite their valiant efforts to unify the party, the efforts have not bore result. During the virtual meeting, senior leader Dhananath Khanal said that Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli could not be trusted any longer. Khanal added that it was high time the disgruntled faction joined hands for a new force to be reckoned with. Majority of the leaders speaking at the meeting flayed Chairman and Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, saying that they needed to form a new party. Meanwhile, the standing committee meeting called by the leadership faction was called off yesterday. Monsoon rains that usually last for 4 months has been pushed back by just over a week in Nepal. As per the Weather Forecasting Division, there is likely to be more rain along with rain-induced disaster in the country this time around. More in this report.
The Weather Forecasting Division has urged general public to remain more vigilant this season as the monsoon rain that enters Nepal in just over a week is likely to cause havoc this time around. The National Disaster Management Authority has also requested the public to remain alert during the next 4 months when monsoon rain would be at its peak. Majority of the places in Nepal face floods, landslides and obstruction in transport during the 4 months of torrential rains. Meanwhile, it is projected that the country braces for threatening monsoon rains causing massive floods and landslides resulting in loss of human lives and properties this season. According to the Weather Forecasting Division, the prediction made on Outlook, a South Asia portal on weather, amount of rain this season is likely to far exceed the rainfall in previous years. Normally, Nepal receives 1,500 millimeter of rains during 4 months of monsoon period.
The share market witnessed an all-time record as the NEPSE index settled at 2,856 points yesterday. The index rose by 29.5 points on the last trading day of the week yesterday, while transaction of over 17 billion rupees was recorded. Sub-indices other than the hydropower, non-life insurance, trade and others groups contributed to the surge. The banking group index also witnessed a surge of 50 points. Likewise, the share price of development bank, hotel, finance, microfinance and manufacturing groups company have all followed the bullish trend. Life insurance index increased by 5 points, while the index of non-life insurance group plummeted by 113 points. The index of the hydropower group also witnessed a loss of 60 points. The share market recorded the second highest transaction as shares worth over 16.9 billion rupees were traded yesterday. Prior to this, shares worth over 17.02 billion rupees were traded on 30th of May earlier this week. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked the locals in Biratnagar who should play what kind of role to conserve the Chure region. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
सरकारले चाहिँ त्यसलाई धेरै ध्यान दिएन भने सम्पूर्ण नागरिक आफै लागेर त्यसको अगाडि आवाज लगाएर चुरे दोहनलाई रोक्नु पर्यो।
दोहन रोक्नु पर्यो, पहिलो बोट बिरुवा भएकोलाई संरक्षण गर्नु पर्यो, नयाँ बोट बिरुवा रोप्नु पर्यो, र कानुन दह्रो बनाएर सम्बन्धित ठाउँको स्थानीयलाई चाहिँ अधिकार दिनु पर्थ्यो यहाँको सबै।
चुरे भावर भनेको चाहिँ तराईको मुटु हो। चुरे भावरको जुन अहिले उत्खनन भइरहेको छ यसलाई सरकारले ठप्प पारेर रोक्नु पर्यो। तसर्थ त्यो रोक्नको लागि आम जनसमुदायहरू जागरुक भएर चाहिँ यो विषयमा आवाज उठाउनु पर्यो जस्तो लाग्छ।
चुरे भावर क्षेत्र भनेको चाहिँ हजुरको तराईको मुटु हो होइन। अब के गर्नुपर्छ भने त्यो दोहन रोकिनु पर्यो, वृक्षारोपणहरू झन् बढी मात्रामा गर्नु पर्यो र त्यहाँका स्थानीयहरूलाई चाहिँ परिचालन गरेर उहाँहरूलाई नै स्थानीयहरूलाई नै सबै त्यो क्षेत्रको जिम्मेवारी दिनु पर्यो।
यसमा भएका जति पनि विकृतिहरू भइरहेछ त्यसलाई चाहिँ बन्द गर्ने हो सरकारले। त्यहाँपट्टि त्यो चुरे दोहनलाई रोकिदिने मात्रै हो भने पनि यो समस्याको समाधान हुन्छ।
And it's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. And here's the question. Why hasn't the government increased testing parameters for COVID-19? Your options are A, lack of resources, B, deemed unnecessary, and C, to show less infection rate. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And it's time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
Nepal solidified their place as the fourth best team in Group B, defeating Chinese Taipei 2-0 in their second stage match of the World Cup and Asian qualifiers. In the match played at the Jabbar Al-Hamad International Stadium in Kuwait City last night, Anjan Bista opened the scoring from the penalty spot before substitute Navyug Shrestha doubled the lead late on, repeating the result from the two sides' previous meeting in Taipei. Already out of Qatar 2022 contention prior to last night's match, the result keeps Chinese Taipei in last place without a point from 6 matches, 6 points adrift of Nepal. Eager to improve defensively after leaking 21 goals in their previous 3 matches in Group B, Chinese Taipei made the worst possible start as Anjan Bista converted a penalty in the 3rd minute of the match to give Nepal an early 1-0 lead. Nepal were awarded a penalty after Chinese Taipei player Cheng Hao carelessly handled the ball inside the D-box. Bista's strike was his 3rd of this Asian qualifiers campaign, all against Chinese Taipei. Nepal doubled their lead in the 80th minute as substitute Navyug Shrestha timed his run to perfection to poke home a low cross by Suman Aryal. Nepal held on to the lead to secure the 2-0 win over Chinese Taipei. Nepal had defeated Chinese Taipei with the same scoreline in the first stage match. Nepal are in the 4th spot in Group B, securing 6 points in 6 matches with 2 wins and 4 losses. Last night's win keeps Nepal's razor-thin chances of advancing to the 3rd round of qualifying for the 2022 FIFA World Cup alive, but it also puts them in a position to potentially complete their best-ever World Cup qualifying campaign. No Nepalese side has ever won 3 matches on the road to the World Cup. Nepal will now lock horns against Jordan this Monday in the qualifiers. The match is scheduled to kick off at 9:45 p.m. Nepal time and will be telecast live on Kantipur television. And that's all for the moment. Keep watching Kantipur Television HD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.